This episode of Super Pulp Science brought to you by Men with Beards, available on Google Play, Amazon Prime, iTunes, or anywhere you get your documentaries.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. Justin Curry, chasing artwork, is trapped in an airport somewhere in Vancouver. And so I have reached out to creative powerhouse Michael Sanders, photographer, filmmaker, general curmudgeon, to take his place. I'm also here with Dan Vadeboncoeur, our producer extraordinaire.
How did you earn that curmudgeon title? I want to know.
I don't know if I've always
Make
been.
the face.
What face?
You know which face. Make it.
I can't make
the
it on
thinking.
purpose.
We've got a long shoot today, and there's a lot to do. Make that face and put your
Yeah,
finger and
I'm
thumb
grinning like
on
an
your
idiot
chin.
'cause I'm
Yeah,
on the
you are
spot,
now.
so.
Yeah. Okay. So why have I brought you here today? We weren't sure
Yeah, why?
exactly what to do when this pivotal member of the team was trapped in limbo, and then I thought, I know lots of people with talent, so I brought one of them onto
Some
the
that
show.
are only feet away.
That's right. Yeah. In interest of full disclosure, Electric Monk Media is just across the street here in Winnipeg. So I pounded the pavement. Actually, no, I'm lying. I texted him and said, "Hey,
we were already texting."
That's right. So I had a thought about some things that we should talk about, but then a natural conversation occurred as we were sitting down and doing the mic test, which is circulating around how people criticize things these days. And is there any room for actual critique left? And it all started because I had done an interview with a Crecom student related to my artistic practice. And I had felt, this is the reason why students get these assignments, so they can practice and learn. But my critique of that student's questions was that they were not prepared on the subject that they were trying to do hard-hitting journalism related to. They actually didn't know the history of that topic. And then that sort of spun out into how people criticize things and why they do and where criticism is. And are you just hunting clicks and controversy, or do you actually know a little about what you're talking about? And then you guys brought up Star Trek, the new Picard show, which I have not seen.
Yeah.
And to preface this, dear listener, there's a new show, Picard. They are not sponsoring this podcast, but we're huge nerds here, and so we like it. Or at least I like it.
I'm quite
Having
surprised.
not seen it, I'm sure it will be good.
I have to say I'm quite surprised that you haven't seen it yet, given that you are a huge Star Trek fan, especially Next Generation.
I'm so busy.
I know.
Right now.
Put it on here in the studio.
No, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. I'll put on Star Trek I've seen.
Right, we talked about this before.
To listen to, like, being with an old friend and hear that conversation, sort of like two old ladies in the room having the same argument they've always had for decades, and it's just like
They're both wearing the
space.
same hat.
Yeah, right? That's my relationship with old episodes of Star Trek.
Yeah.
But new episodes are so
I wouldn't
rare.
do that with Picard.
Yeah, I want to watch it properly and give it the attention it's due, and until I get these 3 books to bed, I can't do that. So
it's like a treat for yourself. when you're done.
it's going to be such a treat. But you guys have watched it.
Yep.
And you both like it.
Love it. Yep.
But Mike, you were saying there's criticism of it online.
Yeah, I guess I think it's become a bit of I don't read I gave up on reading a lot of criticism over the last few years for obvious reasons, that most of it's clickbait stuff anyways. And so now it's become sort of a game where I look for these reviews that you just get a sense from the headline that it's so far to one side of.
What did you say?
And for the most part, hating it. You know?
quoted one like 10 reasons why people wouldn't like the new Picard.
And you say that, or you see that sort of thing. Like, you see these weird headlines. So they don't have to be, they sort of play with this line of, we're not saying we don't like it, but here are the reasons that someone may not like it.
Right, it's like
you know what I
hate
mean?
bait, kind of.
It's hate bait. There you go. Yeah.
Did we
so
just
I
invent
saw
a term? That's got to be a term already.
because
I've never heard it before.
Heard it here first, dear listeners.
If you look at the pedigree of that show, there's no reason why anyone should think that it wasn't going to be excellent.
Yeah.
Just who's involved? period.
Well, if
and
you
so to
like,
see
well,
an
but
article like
okay.
that, like, and then to see these criticisms of the show that are written, and you just get a sense they're written by people that could care less. They're just written for clickbait. And so there's the complaint that I saw over and over. I saw in 2 or 3 different pieces was that the show was too slow. That it was slow paced, that you were waiting so long for something to happen.
See, and my fear, that makes me so happy to hear. Now, again, I haven't watched it, but my fear when I saw the hype of it being promoted, and we're at all the shows, so we see the hype begin small and then grow to the fever pitch that is San Diego and New York, where entire buildings are covered with Picard's face, right? And all the promotions seem to be about ray gun fights and spaceships exploding. I'm like, what?
This is what they're trying to market Star Trek to.
No, that's not it. Did they miss the mark
They're
somehow?
trying to market Star Trek to a non-Star Trek audience with that stuff. I think the Star Trek audience is going to be there no matter what.
Doesn't that lie come back to haunt you after?
There's some good action in it.
There's great action in it.
It's not just all talking. But
There's always good action in Star
but
Trek,
also
but it's always motivated.
I mean, but when I see something like that, where the critic is saying it took so long for something to happen, it's like, define what something is, because I think there's an incredible amount of drama on the face of those characters in every single episode. There's turns happening in the story that are engrossing. And those things are happening, and there isn't an explosion, and there isn't a phaser being fired, and there isn't there isn't a Klingon in the episode yet. Like
some sort.
And by the way, this is only an hour-long episode, and the story itself takes place over weeks or months or days, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, we're not sitting there with Picard the entire time. We are only looking at it for an hour at a time, once a week. So I'm not worried. Anyway.
Since this is a podcast about how genre gets made, do you think that part of the like modern criticism of shows that are now coming, like when a show like this comes out, it usually comes out a week at a time now, right? Like
this one does too.
And so that it changes.
The Mandalorian did as well. Some of them do come out all at once, but
so does that change a modern reviewer's relationship, who's used to being able to watch 2 or 3 in a row, and then all they remember are the things that happened, and so they think it has a great pace. But if they have to watch it and then think about it, gasp. Right? Then they wonder, what was the point?
I think there's also a huge issue nowadays with managing expectations.
I was just going to say that.
We do not manage our own expectations as an audience. We sort of defer that responsibility to the people marketing these things to us. And getting too involved in the hype. And so I've, even more so now, like I've always had sort of a rule where if I really like a film, I watch it twice. And the second, and even if I don't if I'm not totally sold on the first viewing, it's a pretty rare film that I only watch once. If it's an absolute piece of dog shit, I'll maybe only watch it. Sometimes I'll watch it 4 or 5 times. but for the most part, I think that it's important to watch things a second time, removed from those expectations.
Absolutely.
And I think it totally changes your experience with the film, because I think that something we've maybe forgotten about, or maybe we take for granted now, is that the audience is the missing piece in that formula. If no one's watching the film, it really doesn't exist. Like, it exists, but it's not engaged in a feedback loop.
Right.
You need that audience there. Like, without us watching it and then reflecting on it and bringing our own selves to the piece, that's what completes that piece. Like, that's what completes the work. Dr. Sleep, which I haven't watched yet,
right,
because it was so loaded at the beginning. I know, and now that director's cut's out and it's 30 minutes longer, and I've talked to people that saw it in the theater and then saw the director's cut, right? Like,
I haven't read the book. Should I read the book first or watch the movie first?
As a general rule, do you even have to ask that question?
Well, usually if you read the book first, you're disappointed in the film. That's what I found.
Is that your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. If I read the book first, then film is never as good as the book.
But you can use the film as a way into the book.
Like, I saw the movie The Shining before I read the book, and I was fine with both.
True,
versions.
but
those are two very different.
I know they are. I know. But that
Dr. Sleep is a sequel to the book, not necessarily a sequel to the film, but it does incorporate elements of the film.
Being fair, I saw the first Dune, David Lynch's Dune, before I even was aware of the novels.
Exactly.
But I was also a teenager, and I had a fever of like 100 and who knows what.
Oh, that's a great sick movie.
Oh no, it was not. It took me a long time to come to terms with my memory of that film versus the reality of that film. Because I was certain in that heart plug scene that I had imagined the entire thing, like that it must have been a nightmare because that couldn't have been real. And then when I saw it again, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but not in the book.
Okay, so
The
here's
reason
a
I bring that up,
perfect here's
not
a
in the
perfect example is Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to see that film.
I didn't
more
like
than
it
once.
until the second time.
Right. I didn't like it the first time either. I liked it the second time.
I thought it was fine the first time, but I really try to go into Star Wars films with no expectations.
Right.
Because I've made a conscious effort to do that because of all the hype around it. And I did that for The Last Jedi. I enjoyed The Last Jedi. Many people did not. That was one of the first kind of major things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen it twice and I enjoyed it both times. And now I'm afraid to see it a third time because I'm worried that I'm going to hate it based on what everyone else has said about it.
But that's a great example because it's not only loaded with the expectations built up through the marketing, it's loaded with all your expectations from nostalgia and seeing, and especially if you're in a certain demographic and age that have been with those films since they first came out, it's so loaded when you go see it that you really are watching it in the context of your own preconceived notion.
So let me ask a question for both of you, because let's say you're making a comic, you're making a movie, you're making a book, you're making a short film, you're making a long film, you're making a TV show. At some point you have to market that object, that widget, to the discerning public at large. You have to crank up the hype machine. Then it comes out, and it is now going to, based on our current theory that we're establishing right now, not going to live up to anyone's expectations because you have managed hype and not reality.
I'm not saying
How
that
do you navigate the post-release of a book, movie, film? How do you navigate post-release when the hype has not served the total property?
Yeah, I think I would just say that I don't think that you're always going to be in a situation where it's not going to live up to expectations. I just think that you can't manage those expectations. I don't see nowadays how you're able to even manage those expectations given what happens in the market. So you don't control the marketing of your comp. So, like Lucas or Disney doesn't really control the marketing of Star Wars. Star Wars, they release a trailer, and then the amount of content that single trailer propagates online through everybody weighing in with their now opinions on the thing and getting ahead and trying to set the expectation at the top. Like you can't manage that.
It's worse because in some cases the trailer is misleading when they use shots. They've done this before for Rogue One. They used a shot of a TIE fighter that was never in the film. Yeah. They use in the trailer for the Rise of Skywalker. They use the Duel of Fates, the theme from Phantom Menace. That's not in the movie.
Yeah.
So they insert things into the trailer to make it seem more dramatic or to make it seem more appealing to the audience. And it's also like painting a false picture of the film. I think in some cases it is the hype, but it's not delivering because that stuff is not in the movie.
Yeah,
so that troubles me.
You almost feel like for the most part, any press is good press.
Right.
Like they don't even care.
Yes, I do get that feeling.
Yeah, that you might as well throw something out there because it's going to get talked about regardless. Well, I'll tell you what, a perfect example is they just showed the first look, presumably the first look at Robert Pattinson in the bat suit.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're about to shoot on the streets and someone's going to snap a picture, right? And so we might as well put something out there to begin with.
Very dramatic, that camera.
Very dramatic. But look at the amount of content that's been generated just because is that a gun in the bat symbol or not? And it's just the amount of content. I wish
they're batarangs. Come on.
I wish I had never even looked at that clip now. And so now I will purposefully avoid everything about that film going forward because I want to go in.
It's best to go in cold. Always
best to go in cold.
But it's hard to do that.
It's hard. Yeah, very hard.
Difficult to avoid the hype.
Okay, but let's say you're not Star Wars, you're not Warner Brothers, right? You're not Marvel Entertainment.
What's the point of living?
No, but I'm being
What?
serious. You
Okay.
yourself are a filmmaker.
Yeah.
You've had to hype the release of different things,
Yeah.
and then deal with the aftermath of that.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since you've had to do that. Do you think that navigating that is going to be different now than it was?
I think that you have so little control over it that as an indie producer, your budget for marketing is, if you
So
even
small.
have a budget,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? And so what you tend to do is, well, for example, like, so I'm working on a film right now about the world's expert on moose, and he lives in Winnipeg here, and we've been shooting with him for the past 2 or 3 years.
Marvel Entertainment presents.
Giants of the Boreal Forest. Yeah. And so,
We call them moose jaws.
so you know, it's going to broadcast on CBC. Right. That is not something that.
Dear listener, that is our national broadcaster in Canada.
For those who are from the U.S.
Yeah.
So it will broadcast this summer, and then shortly after, you know, so we'll sort of promo that, and we'll try to support that release, but we'll do it instead of a broad sort of blanket approach, because we don't have $100 million in marketing to throw at it and buy up every bus stop. We will focus on niche groups. We will focus on conservation groups. We have already relationships with different conservation organizations, so we can get a mention of it in a newsletter to people that are an active listener or watching for those sorts of things. So in that respect,
Would it be something you'd market to hunters too?
Could
'Cause,
be
like,
hunters,
At
yeah.
their heart, like
Sure.
real hunters are conservationists.
yeah, real hunters
right?
are conservationists.
No,
absolutely.
it's seriously like people
I get
who
it,
are
I get it.
involved in
No,
that.
that's absolutely true.
world. Yeah.
And actually, you know, it's the hunters and the fisher people in the province that they're paying for those licenses and paying for those tags. That is a huge portion of the money that goes into conservation efforts here.
Yeah.
And you know, there's nothing wrong with well-managed hunting and fishing.
Now,
It's poorly managed hunting and fishing.
It's
that's
poorly
the issue.
managed hunting
Right.
and fishing that becomes a problem.
now you say it airs on CBC, so doesn't that fall into CBC to market it as well?
CBC will market it,
Yeah.
yeah, and but you know,
But with CBC, isn't it just it's what's on?
Yeah.
That's how CBC
Okay,
markets.
CBC is part of their mandate is to get people to watch or listen to their content, so they have to advertise it. They usually advertise it during like Dragon's Den or something else.
Now-
You'll see a promo for it.
yeah,
I
and
love
they'll
my
they'll
Canadian
probably,
Broadcasting Corporation, but listen, they don't.
I know they don't.
They don't advertise really.
no,
right?
because
They do a little
people,
bit.
the
They
CBC
advertise
audience,
on the CBC.
yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
They don't advertise outside their own medium. Yes,
That's
you're
right.
right. Yeah,
This is
their own
what I'm
platform,
saying,
yes.
right? So if you're not already watching CBC, you're not turning in to something on the CBC.
So I guess it's just, I think there's a difference in marketing to the general public, and I think there's a difference to marketing to an already attentive niche group of people that are already interested in what you're doing.
Okay, so
the
what have you learned about
expectations
that?
there are the expectations there are
I
different.
feel that ports directly into comic and niche sci-fi groups and whatever, right? If you
Yeah.
can find your group.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working on this, some film development for a film that, you know, there's 1,000 ways a film can die, I've said before, but it can be a comic first. And that's
Yeah.
what we're focusing on right now. And we've
Yeah.
been talking about the different ways to reach out to the groups that can make a horror movie happen.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of those grassroots organizations and groups. It's similar with the Moose in this case, right? Like
Yeah.
people who are into or aware of the needs of their own
Yep.
foresting communities are the real target market for
Yep. Well, also just like there is a target there for the general public, you know, because we have an issue in the province and most people don't even know about it, but we've lost half the population since the mid 80s. And that's not in most areas that those populations have dropped, they will never recover.
Right.
And so we're faced now with that. So there was a lot of mismanagement of that resource, and then you add climate change to that, and those populations are moving in an unnatural or natural way anyways. Like they're going to migrate to areas that are.
Do you have anyone ever interrupt you when you're having, like when you bring up climate change and say, well, like allegedly climate change? Like, do you have
No,
people
I
who-
haven't had that. No.
That's coming.
Is it?
Yeah, that's coming.
Not so much here.
I don't think you
hearing
see
it
that
in
as much
other
here.
areas of news media where someone will bring up climate change and someone will try to interrupt with allegedly.
Is it alleged that?
Well, no, it isn't. But
Some people don't believe it's real.
Yeah.
See, well, some people think the Earth is flat.
It's true.
So, I
you
I
have to
believe
feel
those
like that.
people should be sterilized and shipped off onto ice floes. I don't think that they should. I think those people should be removed from the
They
gene
would
pool
fall off the edge
altogether.
of the Earth if you did
I
that.
appreciate your moderate viewpoint on the subject.
It would have worked if it weren't for this infernal beard.
We did a film 5-6 years ago now called Men with Beards, and it did very well. And
Where can a dear listener find that?
you can find that on Amazon Prime, Google Play, iTunes, anywhere where you basically want to. But you can stream it on Amazon Prime. But go look through the reviews on Amazon. There's like
look on your
over
face.
100 or something, and I didn't realize until maybe a year or so ago. I went on and started reading through the reviews on Amazon, and half of them are people that love the film, and half of them are people that hate the film.
Right.
And so that makes me happy.
As long as
Because
it's
love it or
reviewed.
hate it, as long as
Love
you're feeling
it,
something.
love it or hate it, feel something. But you can see that the people that have the harshest, most black and white opinion to the negative, on the negative side, are probably people that they're not interested in the subject matter anyways.
Interesting. Yeah.
They're not really interested in what the film is doing and the conversation that the film attempts to have with you as an audience member.
So you're talking about they're separated from the context that the film has already established.
Yeah, and they're not, and that's fine. And I don't begrudge anyone their opinion. That's what I say. You can't control people's opinions. But what I did do in that film is we left a specific character in, and we left a specific moment in that film in place. And it was debated as to whether that moment would remain in the film up until like the week that we screened it.
Oh, I know. This is the bit with the super controversial monologue, sort of.
Yeah. With Ian.
Yeah.
And he's a character in the film, and we talked to Ian, and Ian's a performance artist, and I love Ian. And that interview was single-handedly one of the most insane conversations I've ever had with another human being. And Ian is so, because of his background as a theater artist and a performance artist, Ian is so aware of the effect that his actions have on you as you watch. He's so aware of your reactions based on what he says and does that he could break down how people treated him before he had the beard and how those behaviors immediately changed when he had this beard. And most of the people, like there's a couple examples that we put in the film, and those people probably didn't even realize at the time that they were acting any differently towards him. But his ability to recall all that and then be able to succinctly put it together for us, and it was amazing. And then Ian starts talking about the things that having the beard has allowed him to do. And he draws a line between having the beard and acts that he has performed on stage.
Right.
And he draws a line between saying, like, connecting, I had this beard and I realized having this beard and dealing with these reactions and dealing with these people that I could do more. Like I was pushing buttons and I was pushing boundaries, and it made me, and it helped him get into a headspace where he was comfortable doing things that he may not have been comfortable doing before.
Right.
In that, he states, so I've done things like shit on stage and put a hot dog in my ass. Now, we don't show you that.
Right.
He just says that.
It's just words from
as the it's if you've been paying attention, the entire last 5 minutes have led to him making this statement. If you've been involved in the film and you are enjoying these characters, you at that point in the film, I just believe that you are in 100%.
Right.
If you have been half in the film and you're not, and you're just kind of there, and you're not really into it, and that
somebody's
comes up,
outlandish statement throws
you are out. And that's fine, because I wanted a point in the film where it was like, you're in or you're out at this point, because I want to finish it off strong. So you're either in or you're out. Now, there was a lot Ian said in that interview that we did not put in the film. that was a bit too far over the line, that I felt we would lose the audience no matter what on either side completely. And so that we made a decision to let's pull all that back. We don't need to put that in. That's a bit too far. It's not doing us any service, really. But that moment, I believe, serves the film. Now, you read if you read the opinions, more often than not, if it's a negative opinion of the film, it either references Ian or it references like, I put this film on for my family and it did not need to have a couple F-bombs in it. Well,
yeah.
You know.
What's the rating?
I don't even know. Couldn't tell you.
So I have a question, though, because what we're talking about now is the relationship. We started talking about sort of the expectation of the audience before a thing is out. And now we're talking about the relationship with the viewing audience after the fact. But you are also talking about the way in which you considered that relationship in the making of the thing. And, you know, when I'm working on a series of prose novels right now, there's all of these violent acts in the book that are targeted to young adult readers. And a whole bunch of different times I'm saying to myself, okay, what is the motivation of this violence? And how much of the violence can I leave off the page and simply show the build up to it and still achieve the same effect in the overall story? Because I don't want that one thing to be the thing that reviewers, you know, ultimately censors at schools and media places say, this is not appropriate for young readers, right? I have this back and forth around that. And it sounds like you did the same thing with your film, is to say, like, at what point will people who are into it get pushed out of it if they're not all the way in? Which is a conversation we haven't had before, which I find interesting, because I'm deep in that right now. Like, at what point will this push out the people who are moderates? And those people are usually people who are reading the book quickly for a review, right? Or they're skimming it to see if they want to bring it into their classroom. Right? They're basically straining it for the parts that are going to come to the surface as being hot button discussion issues, and if, you know, those become problematic. But then at the same time, those become the things you market.
The things that get people
The things that are going to get people riled up are the things that you might look at and say, this is what we should talk about in the marketing of the book.
I don't think they do that for Star Wars.
Well, no, but this is what I mean. Star Wars is a legacy media
I'm just joking. Yes, of course.
enterprise. What I'm talking about, things that people see, this might come as a shock to both the dear reader and the consumer at large. There are stories that you haven't heard of that didn't exist before this week that people are writing now that are not a sequel or a reboot. Gasp.
What?
Yeah. And so that work, right, has to have a relationship with its audience. And that work is building on the preconception that, wait, I'm used to having heard of a franchise before I'll pay for it. That's a big part of marketing now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's also where this sort of distasteful comparison marketing comes from. Right? Like Automatic Age is The Walking Dead meets iRobot. Why? Because you've heard of those two other franchises, and it might trigger the part of your brain that says, I believe in franchises, to go out and buy it.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't tell you really what happens in the story.
Yeah. Well,
It relies on your misconception and the hype and the everything you bring with you. How do we get away from that?
Well,
or get.
But your question was.
I don't even know now. It's so deep.
Your question was, you know, that piece that you're wrestling with putting into your novel.
Oh, there we go.
You know, should you put it in? You know, if it's not, I would just say that if it's something that you're okay with the book being defined by.
Right.
If you think that at its core, that one thing sort of embodies the story as a whole. If it's connected into the work in that meaningful way,
have to leave it.
Then you have to leave it.
Yeah.
But if it's not, see, that's the sort of line that I drew in ours, was that the piece that's in there, I believe, is absolutely connected to the core of what that film is.
Right.
And
for
the
those of you
conversations that's taking place.
Haven't seen it or want to, like, Men with Beards, deep down, really is about the way you can be a different person when you have a different face.
Yeah, the working title of the film was Men Talking About Their Feelings.
Aww.
Because we were having these interviews with these guys, and we didn't know. It just sort of happened. But we were having these interviews with these guys, and the first maybe 2, 3, we'd leave, and I'd say to my buddy Dylan, who made it with me, and I said, I bet you that if we weren't, like, you'd never get these guys telling you some of this stuff if we weren't talking about their facial hair. Like, there was something about them talking about their facial hair and how, and then relating that to experiences that they were having that then was getting them to reveal something about themselves. And some of them were, with some people, it's more subconscious than others. So some people are just telling you things and they're maybe not even realizing it. And other times they're just very, like Ian, he just knew. And so he could just strip himself bare, peel his whole skin off and show you everything.
To a Klingon, a beard is a symbol of courage.
You have a fulsome beard, Dan.
I was just going to say, I've spent the majority of my life with no beard until 2 years ago, and I just went full into the beard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to watch this. I've not seen this film yet, which is I feel bad about because I've known about it for a long time, but I knew about it before I had a beard. That's really what it was. I just want to read quickly. I'm looking at Google Play reviews.
Yeah.
And you're right. The funny thing is there are, like, it's either you love it or you hate it. There's lots of 5-star reviews, lots of 1-star reviews. And my favorite so far that I've read here is, I know everyone should be smart enough to tell, but this is not Duck Dynasty related. Which is interesting for the time.
Right.
That, I mean, 5 years ago, that was a huge show, right?
Sure, it was a huge show.
And that was kind of like part of the, I bet you a lot of people went into this thinking it was
Oh, well, yeah.
Just because of the cover.
It's very much not that at all.
I know
right?
it isn't, but it's just funny.
Oh, yeah.
So people confuse that. But yeah, no, I'm interested to see this because I've definitely noticed a difference since I've grown out my beard and the way people kind of treat me. So I just feel older, really, and more distinguished. So I need to trim it, though. It's getting a lot ahead, which I haven't done.
What are you
for a while.
hiding?
I'm not hiding anything.
What are you hiding?
I actually just hate shaving. Really.
I hate shaving. Yeah. I hate it.
In my parents' wedding vows, included a line about how my dad would not shave his beard.
Really?
Yeah, that was the agreement that he would all. And then they had this like sort of this tacit agreement that, rise or fall, up or down, whatever the marriage brought. My mom had 2 really clear conditions. Number 1, you would not shave your beard, and number 2, our car would always have air conditioning. And as long as those two,
so it was your mom's requirement.
It was my mom's requirement.
Is that because she'd seen him clean shaven and didn't like it? Oh, okay, interesting.
Yes. Yeah. We'll leave that up.
Let me kind of talking about the managing expectations thing.
Yeah.
How do you do that with this film when it's not immediately clear by the title what this is about? I mean, it's about men with beards, but it's about more than that as you discover as you watch the film. So how do you manage people's expectations going into
Well,
that?
some of that was in the marketing. Like it is in the trailer.
Okay.
It is like that sort of sense of there is a sense of what the film is about.
Let me make.
But again, coming back to like, it's just like we're so restricted in our reach or in our budget that I don't have any other way to do that other than hoping that you watch a trailer or you've been recommended it because of something else. But
I remember seeing a lot of like posters about it. You guys probably had a screening.
You guys
at
did a
Cinematheque or
pretty
something.
good job.
yeah,
There's a lot.
Cinematheque. We didn't even. Dave Barber at Cinematheque programmed it for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
it did really. We played here. We played in Vancouver. We played in Calgary. We played in Houston, and we played in one other U.S. city over the course of maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And I traveled with it as much as I could, and then we got distribution through Devolver Digital Films, and then it got up across on all these other platforms. But at a certain point, you sort of have to let the work speak for itself.
I certainly do
It is what
now,
it is.
Right?
5 years
Yeah.
later, you have to do that.
Okay,
have
but
to.
let's. I wanted to make some one-to-one comparisons here, and you can tell me whether this is a valid way to think about it or not. All right. So you have a movie about men with beards, and so you market it to people who have beards.
No.
No,
See,
no,
this,
no.
So
This is my question.
Here's there was a huge misstep in the mark. So when I love Devolver, they did a great job with it. There was a point where there was a marketing push made, not by them, but by one of the aggregators or something that was involved in getting it on, And at the time, it was the baseball playoffs, the World Series. And Boston was in the World Series. And all the Boston players stopped shaving. And so you had all these images on the TV of these guys with these beards. And so whoever it was that spent a little bit of money, this little tiny bit of money to push men with beards at that time, focused on the Boston Red Sox and focused on these players. And as soon as it happened, I just threw my arms up in the air. I'm like, that was a total misstep.
Right.
If I could go back and do that marketing again, and something that we sort of realized at the beginning, and it's hard to keep some of these things in mind as you're moving through production on a film for 4 years, but that the film should have been marketed to the partners of men with beards, because the film isn't necessary. Yes, if you have a beard, you may find it interesting, but I think that the people that find it most interesting are the partners of the people with beards or people that don't have beards at all.
Right.
Because if you have a beard,
if you're like, there's no way a film about beards can be this compelling. I promise you, there's some laughs and some cries in this film that you are not expecting. And again, because it's about the masks that we put on and take off. And,
absolutely.
And, it is not true to assume that women are the only one who have to manage the expectations of a certain social bias.
Sure.
And we have seen, thankfully, we've heard from that side of the world recently. But there haven't been that many times when we have heard what that other side is.
No, and I would say to Dan's point that I don't think the expectations are managed well, which is why you get these reviews that are so diametrically opposed. Yeah. Because I think that people that are giving it 1 star don't want to think when they're watching the movie.
Don't.
They thought this was going to be a fun-loving, free-living documentary, easygoing,
I believe someone says to them, "You have a big beard, watch this movie." The same way someone might say with Automatic Age, "Oh, you like robot stuff? Read this book." But then what it's really about in both cases, so like my book has robots and your movie has beards, but in both cases our work are really about the feelings of male characters unrequited throughout the entire film. Or story. And that may be the thing that the reviewers of both my work that's coming out later this year and that I've seen in your film will have in common, is that people are like, "Hey, listen, I came from murder robots. What's all this relationship between the father and son shit getting in the way?" Right?
Yeah. You guys need to make a sequel called Robots with Beards. That needs to be a thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's the Terminator reboot that we'll pitch?
Yeah.
Right. Did he have a beard in the latest one?
Did he have a beard in Dark Fate?
I didn't remember.
See it.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
A little bit of a beard.
He's
a robot with a beard.
Yeah. I've never felt
he had
so
a row
sad
beard.
I felt really sad walking out of that movie.
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it the second time.
There's another example of managed expectations, because the last few Terminator films have not been good. Like, they keep making movies in this franchise.
No, they've been exactly what they've promised.
Well,
this is my contention with these big franchise movies, when people are like, "Oh, why wasn't it better?" They showed you in the trailer that a whole bunch of shit blows up and there's some neat special effects every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they gave you, and that's what you went because that's what they showed you, and now you're mad that it didn't change your life.
If you're looking for films that change your life, there's a lot of 4-hour Russian films I can point you in the direction of, but if you're looking to go see Terminator and have your world turned upside down, I think you're...
Well, I think, again, this kind of gets back to the nostalgia thing. People are upset that it's not as good as Terminator 2, which is, everyone's favorite movie in that franchise.
But how can you compete with nostalgia?
Well, you can't. That's the problem. That's the problem with Star Wars. It's the problem with Star Trek. It kind of brings us all around.
It's almost like you should make new things.
Yeah, well, geez,
Or maybe that's the trade-off of mitigating your risk by investing wholeheartedly into franchises.
Right.
Yeah,
you're gonna, and a portion of the pop. You go in
so
there,
wise.
Knowing a part of the population is just gonna hate it. You know that.
Starting,
but you don't care because
you don't care because people will go to see it anyway. The haters will still pay to see it.
I have always been a little suspicious of men in beards.
There's a film site that I've probably read since I was like 15, and it's pretty balanced in But I love reading comments. I don't post comments. My God,
You're
I
one
love
of
reading
those.
them. But it's just nowadays, it's like someone puts a trailer up and someone forms their entire opinion based on 3 minutes of a 2-hour film, and it's like the entire opinion. No, this is why are they even bothering? This thing is just, There's also tends to be this sort of opinion. If we are so inundated with media, we're so educated to a certain degree. Because everyone watches and consumes so much stuff. I get the feeling that some people just wholeheartedly believe that if they were in the room, they could do it better, without any actual thought going into what is actually happening in that room.
Yeah.
Well,
we had wasn't our last episode me ranting about the way things were, essentially, and we managed to come around to a measured look at okay. There's no sense in being too upset. If you think about the constituent parts of how this is all put together, this is the reason it takes that shape. So this is what you're talking about, is that a person who's watching the finished form can imagine on an unlimited budget with unlimited access.
Yeah, with the unlimited...
A perfect way to do it.
In your head.
The armchair quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
It's and as far as Star Wars goes, this is manifested in the form of a quote-unquote leaked script. There's the leaked Colin Trevorrow script you guys may have heard of.
No. Yep.
So I don't believe it's real, but someone says that this is what, before they fired Colin Trevorrow, who's supposed to be the writer-director of the third film in this franchise, this one is called Duel of the Fates and has all these different things out. Completely different story than the one we got. So people are saying, see, this is better than what we got. This is the one that we should have made, right? And meanwhile, they fired the guy years ago, and they've got they've had this plan in place, and this is the movie we have. It's either accept it or don't. But this is the film we got.
Give
you
them
can't
a link
imagine.
to Star Crash. They can watch that.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's
Right.
a great movie.
That's a different Star Wars movie they can watch whenever they want.
Yeah, but I think you're absolutely right, Dan. I think that there's this feeling, there's this, people are never happy. People nowadays they seem to have this idea that there's something, that the very object they're holding in their hands is not the thing.
Yeah,
this can't be it because I don't like this.
Yeah.
So this can't be the thing.
Oh man,
But I like the thing that came out when I was 6 years old. So that's the thing that
right, that
I'm gonna remember as something I loved when I saw it. Meanwhile, there's a 6-year-old sitting next to me in the movie theater, loving the thing that we're watching right now. Yeah. Right. So the film is different things to different people. But
yeah, it's like a person holding a modern Boba Fett action figure with 27 points of articulation and being disappointed that it moves too much.
Oh, come on.
Right? Like it's too realistic or it's too well painted. The one I had when I was a kid only did this and I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Right? That's just where we're at. Right? So, how do you find those niches early? I mean, as an independent developer, how are you... you made a moose movie, you made a beard movie, right? You've made a bunch of short films. We did our horror movie that we just released together. They're all so different.
Working on a pinball series right
You
now.
were right. Nice. What do they all have in common? What is it with you and these little slivers of, I don't know what you call it, like epiphania, like minutia?
I don't know. I mean, I'm interested in a lot of different stuff, and so I mean, I think to some degree that's where it comes from. But for me, making a film is about sort of discovering the connective tissue that exists unseen between two disparate images or two disparate ideas.
Now, do you documentary or just film in general?
In general. And so, I believe everything's connected. Everything and everyone is connected. And if you can find meaningful connections between two things that from the outside seem completely different, that's really interesting. And so I think that how that manifests to different degrees in every project is different. But with the moose thing, Vince Crichton, Dr. Vince Crichton, who's referred to as Doc Moose, he's the world's expert on moose. Now, so there's two things I love about that.
Samson of
One
moose.
is he's absolutely obsessed with moose. And that obsession and drive basically manifested his entire life as you see it now. But through that obsession, he's created these connections with people across different age groups, across different stratas of society that are all connected by a fascination or a love of moose. So next week, we're shooting him at an elementary school in the city, doing a presentation to kids.
That's weird. You're going to execute him in front of those kids?
Like what?
You're going to shoot him at the school?
Yeah. Shoot him right in front of the kids. Kids need to get a dose of reality as early as possible. The hard realities of life.
Your filmmaker lingo.
My filmmaker lingo, yeah. And then at the same time, earlier this year we did a trip up to a couple different communities up north, and he sat with 2 Indigenous elders that he's known and worked with for 30 plus years. Those are 2 very different populations, and they kind of have this shared sort of love and interest in this same animal. That connection and showing that those connections exist and being able to illustrate those connections actually is what's going to help save that species.
Right.
Everyone realizing that they have a common goal, or everyone at the table realizing they have a common interest in helping this species, helping this animal survive, is what's going to help that animal. Not drawing lines in the sand saying you're you and I'm me, and it's not oil and vinegar, right?
Yeah. So you're not trying to illuminate the ways in which everyone's different, but in the way they're the same.
Right. So that's happening on a character level. There's those connections happening. On more of just a form level, we've got 200 hours of footage that we're drawing from. Some of it is Vince took a video camera into the field with him all the time since the early 90s. And so I've got over 30 years worth of material that we're pulling from on different formats. Now, all of those are instances, and then I should add to that, there's also 16 millimeter film that his dad shot in the first roll was from 1939. It was black and white. The first color roll was 1940, and I've got about an hour and a half across 15 different rolls of film that his dad had shot between 1939 and 1955. Now, you got all that footage that spans 80 years, 90 years. Yeah. And the power in the film will come from being able to show connections between this footage in the 40s and footage in 2001, or a moment from Vince's life in 1945, and here's Vince in the field in 1997. Yeah. And being able to create a narrative thread that connects that material, there's a lot of power in that. And I believe those connections are inherent. It's just a matter of watching the footage and but those connections are there.
Your haircut? Notice you've copied my beard.
In this middle of all this, are you thinking about the marketing of this film at all?
I'm thinking about I wouldn't say that I'm thinking about the marketing of the film, but I am thinking about the audience for the film, and I'm thinking about whether, because I am in the middle of editing. The film isn't even close to being finished, but I'm in the middle of editing, and I'll edit for the next 3 months probably.
And you have to know your audience in your mind's eye.
I have to, but it's also a matter of what if you're thinking about the audience, and then that is going to influence the form or the very film itself. What is the form that film ends up taking?
Well, that's why I ask about that.
But audience. I also think that there's an ideal form for this story. And I want to create the ideal form for the story. And so it's always this back and forth between, okay, do I need to worry that it's on CBC? Should that impact the form of it? Should it be a story that is focused on a regional audience or an international audience? Because there's a great amount of interest in this animal around the world.
Right, yeah.
Because it's outside of Canada is an exotic animal, right? And even within Canada, it's an icon, but, you know, how many people have seen a moose?
Like in real life, yeah.
Yeah.
Scared the crap out of me. Ran across, driving through Turtle Mountain Park, and just two of them burst out of the bush right across the road. I was going very slowly, but I almost, came very close to hitting it. But boom, scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Yeah.
Shout out to my misspent youth. I was lounging in a hot spring. I may or may not have had my clothes on, and my girlfriend at the time and I were in this hot spring, and then I looked up, and there was a man with a long barrel rifle standing looking at us, and he has a Rangers uniform on, and I was like, hi? And he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm just, it's not a, he shows me that it's a tranquilizer gun, and he says, this is just in case she breaks our agreement. And I'm like, my girlfriend? And I look over, and behind us, maybe 15 feet, is a female moose, like just enormous, like the biggest living animal I've been that close to. And I've been within 10 feet of a few different kinds of bears, but a moose has this like power in and of itself that is just very difficult to describe. And she's huffing away and chewing and standing in these like the runoff of the hot spring, and the warden guy says to us, is that the right word? I don't know. Conservation officer. He says, we have this agreement that if she doesn't cross that log, she doesn't have to go to sleep. And we've sort of maintained this agreement in this area of the park for a very long time, but every now and then when people like yourselves show up, there's a reason for her to break the rule. And we're like, we waited for a little while, and the moose chewed and looked at us and chewed and looked at us and then walked off, and then he walked off sort of with it. And it was like they were, they had reached a détente. Yeah. And the only problem in this perfect balance of nature was the two naked hippies in the freaking hot spring, right? Everything was fine.
So you may or may not have had clothes on. Right? That means I pictured you with clothes on.
Right. So that's for you. The mind's eye is
Thank you for that.
Broad. The idea here, though, that we've circled around is that you make the thing that you're trying to make, and there's an ideal form of it, and that when it comes time for people to consume it, that relationship changes everybody else's perspective. But it doesn't change the object itself. It's still what it was. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I guess what you're saying, the advice I'm going to tease out of you here is that whatever it is, the thing you're trying to make that. Yeah. And just be happy that you made it.
But I think also you have to be comfortable with the fact that it's going to be flawed.
Yeah. And it could be flawed.
There's an ideal form. That doesn't mean it's perfect.
Yeah.
It means it's ideal to the story that you're trying to tell. And inherently, that should be flawed. It has to be flawed. If it's not flawed, then it wasn't made by you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not handmade. It's not. It has to carry with it some sort of fallacy. That's what gives it character.
Yeah, that's right. Like a jewel in the wild is perfect. Yeah. And as soon as we start carving on it, that's when it.
But once you let it out into the world, then it's out of your hands.
It's out of your hands, and so
accept what comes.
You absolutely have to accept what comes. I accept every one of those reviews for Men with Beards, and I revel in it because as I go through, and you see every now and then. You see on the Amazon one particular, I loved it because I'd be going through these, you get these 6 in a row of people going, well, this, and this. And then this young woman posts, you guys didn't get it.
Oh, to the other people.
To the other people.
Okay, yeah.
She posts this great little piece about all the people shitting on this movie. You just didn't get it. And it goes back to something that, who's the Rolling Stone music critic?
Oh, I know. I don't remember.
Yeah, he's been around forever.
Right.
Yeah, and he has but he has a quote where he says, music is a thing where you either get it or you don't.
Yeah.
You either get it or you don't. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's good. It just means you didn't get it or you did.
Peter Travers, is that it?
No, he's the film critic, the music critic. Frick, sorry. I want to say his name is?
David Frick.
David Frick, yeah.
Perfect name. Well, there's another side of this, too, I think that bears discussing, and maybe it's a nice way to wrap up, is that, let's say there's 40 million people in Canada, let's say, and of those 40 million people, there's probably 1 million of them that want to make a movie.
At least.
Right? That really want to. Like they want to make a movie. Now hold on. Of those million, there's maybe 100,000 of them that start the process of learning how to make a movie. Mm-hmm. And then there's maybe 10,000 of them that actually ever get to getting some film, mm-hmm. right? Getting some actual scenes shot, something made. There's maybe 1,000 of them that finish a film. And there's maybe a few hundred of them that actually get it into the world to survive, to have 1-star reviews, right? So that 1-star review is actually your badge of honor that you went from being someone that thought maybe it would be a good idea to do something to actually having it finished, mm-hmm. right? Perfect or imperfect.
So when the film came out, a local critic, who I won't even give
their name,
I won't even say their name, wrote a review of the film in which he basically, I can't remember exactly what the wording was, but he said, basically, I don't understand why this film felt the need to exist. Pretty much the worst review you could ever hope to get, right? It's perfect that it came from a local Winnipegger too.
That's funny.
I love that. So anyways, when we did our third trailer, I led with that review in the trailer. Right off the top, boom, we just, in the third trailer, that's the first thing you see. I don't know why this film needed to exist or something like that. Yeah. And then we play with that over the course of the trailer because there's a lot of other really positive reviews of the film as well. And so it becomes this, like, the characters in the film sort of commenting on that review a little bit here and there. So I just owned it, absolutely. Because I think it's as valid, or, that's a valid opinion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But also there's a lot of other people that see the need, that saw it. Now, the difference being that gentleman that wrote that review also in that review states that he's had a beard or a goatee, which, come on, a goatee isn't a beard, but has had some sort of facial hair for his entire life. And so he didn't see he didn't understand why it was a big deal.
Because he doesn't get it.
He doesn't get it.
Yeah.
He just didn't get it. Yeah.
Huh.
Well, so maybe that is our problem with the reviewers who are so quick to judge too soon, is that we just don't get them.
Maybe.
No, I think they don't get the thing. They're too quick.
Right?
Take your time. Think about it.
Because a goatee is not a beard. This has been Super Pulp Science, where we talk about managing our expectations, how genre gets made, and I am urging you to join the fight and make comics.